Hey everybody, welcome back to Slow Your Roll. Today we're going to talk about what it would be like if your Warlock's patron bestowed their powers on maybe the whole party, or if your Paladin's deity blessed the whole party. We've got a lot of awesome ideas where you can intertwine this in your adventures or whatever to be the next awesome story arc in your game. So it's going to be fun, so let's get right into it.
So in general, when we were looking at this idea, we were kind of thinking of like, what do you think of when you think of like the Warlock's patron or like a Cleric's deity even? Most of the time they're a very hands-off kind of thing, but they happen to imbue just one character of the party power, which is cool and all, but the entire party is actually doing tasks for that person if you really think about it. So it kind of makes sense that they might be able to get a boon, blessing, or even cursed for acting with or against that type of power. So like if you were going to be with a warlock and that warlock wanted to have a brand new character arc, it's time to meet his patron. Most warlock patrons tend to the evil side. I mean, if they were on the good side, you'd be a cleric, but
I mean, it really is that simple. There's the difference.
You're right. But when you're worshiping a evil deity, more or less, you're going to be thinking of how are they going to affect you in the long run? Destruction, chaos, and everything is their game, and you're probably going to get caught in that. So let's just say you are in the good graces of this warlock patron. You've just completed a quest, or maybe it's finally that time for the warlock to level up, and it's a significant level up, and everyone gets to be a part of it. And you could end up getting the blessing, or curse in your opinion, of the aura of hellfire. Perhaps the Warlock's patron bestows upon the entire party an aura that allows them to have maybe a little bit of a plus to damage rolls once or twice a day, or maybe even it's just an extra intimidation boost. But the fact is that intimidation boost is always there. So talking to any normal citizen, you'll be at a disadvantage.
Yeah, I can totally imagine that you're at a bar and you ask for a drink and the bartender just looks right at you and refuses. He's like, no, you guys got to get out of here.
Right.
That'd be crazy.
Do you imagine like everybody or everywhere you went, they're always like that guy with that look in his eye?
Yeah, everyone's just kind of like subtly afraid of you. But I mean, you might do well with some people because you're intimidating. So that'd be a fun blessing and a curse for sure.
Right.
This one's maybe more on the mechanical side of the game, but it could be as simple as everyone, now that you are blessed by this warlock patron, let's say it's a fiend patron, that maybe everyone in the party would gain resistance to fire or poison damage. But of course, if that's the case, maybe they become vulnerable to radiant or cold damage.
Ooh, yeah, totally makes sense.
Simple blessing and curse combo there that could be fun to grant to the whole party. So this next one's really cool, the Pact of the Shared Soul. So let's say that the Warlock patron grants everyone in the party this ability, and now they can directly share their own abilities between each other. Maybe they can swap spells whenever they want to, or borrow and take spell slots. Or the really crazy thing, maybe the downside for this, everyone's health at the table is pooled together one health pool, and maybe you get really risky with it and you cut that health pool right in half. Now, technically, your barbarian that's at the front line has like 150 HP, but if that barbarian gets hit hard and goes down, that means the whole party's unconscious instantly.
That could be really detrimental, especially for the barbarians that just like to run in and teeter between 1 hit point and 0 the entire fight.
For sure. The dangerous thing with this too is, I mean, if everyone's at 0 hit points, death saves aren't going to look good at that point. I mean, it's almost a guaranteed TPK if one person were to drop. So your party would be sweating real hard if they get low on hit points that way.
And I can see this being like way too harsh, right? But at the same time, maybe everyone doesn't share a health pool. Maybe you just all have the same physical defects at the same time. So like you're all poisoned, you're all stunned, you're all getting some sort of negative effect from the fact that you're connected. The fact that you can share a spell slot with your friend might come at a downfall that you really needed a spell. Or maybe, just maybe, they can use it without your knowing.
Yeah, another like taking the entire same concept. If you were to have maybe just like shared vision among the party, everyone can see what everyone's seeing all the time. But if a single person goes blind, the whole party goes blind. That'd be kind of crazy too.
That would be.
Or another kind of similar concept you could do with like a twisted fortune blessing or curse, where everyone in the party gains advantage on saving throws all the time. That's awesome. But if anyone rolls a natural 1, then everyone fails the saving throw and takes damage. That's a lot of dice being thrown, a lot of chances for a natural 1 to come up. So you could kind of weigh the pros and cons there, but it's kind of risky.
True. And it would be kind of funny if like somebody was picking a lock and it was just them. They roll a natural 1 and then somehow you like get a bloody nose all the way across the room.
It's like, he messed the lock up again.
Right.
So I'm sure there's a bunch more you could do with the fiendish-like patron of a warlock. But we'll step aside from that, or we'll be talking about it all day. So next one up would be maybe like a paladin's deity, right? Paladins get their powers from worshiping a certain deity. Most of the time, these deities are on like the lawful good side. So we kind of went the route of, if you got a boon from an especially strict lawful good deity, it would look something like, as follows. So that kind of deity is going to be like super demanding, right? So it's going to be like follow the rules or they abandon you kind of thing. Obviously, you might tend toward like radiant abilities. This deity might want ultimately the greater good, but maybe at the cost of people suffering on the way, if that's what it takes to achieve the greater good. Kind of the stricter side of a lawful good deity.
Yeah, I mean, how many times do you hear somebody talking about the greater good and you don't instantly start drawing something right here?
Yeah. Right. You're right. I mean, you're right. But you're right.
But let's just say it is the Paladin's character arc today, and we're going to be talking about his deity, or talking to his deity even. He could imbue the aura of truth upon the players. And this could be a really cool effect. You could sense deception around you. You'd be able to know when anyone is lying to you. But at the same time, you'd never be able to tell a lie again. And this is for the entire party. We're not just talking about the paladin who probably wasn't going to lie in the first place. I'm talking about the rogue that can't tell a lie either. He is no longer that silver-tongued devil.
Yeah, it's always the rogue. Or the bard or whoever else, the person that might get you out of some trouble by lying, that's gone now.
Mm-hmm. And another thing about paladins is their natural sense of justice. So maybe the deity gives you the beacon of hope enhancement. So as a beacon of hope, if you see injustice anywhere, you must intervene. It is your duty to do so, even at a fault. And because the party is a beacon of hope, their charisma is boosted exponentially. They could get advantage on all charisma saving checks or throws, or maybe even for bards, this could be a huge advantage.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. The bards could make out like bandits with a maxed out charisma score this way.
Mm-hmm. Or even go above. Because you can't go above 20 with like normal means, but if for some reason the DM was like, hey, the paladin.
Yeah, and of course, if your DM allowed this, well, if I were the DM that allowed this, I would be real strict about setting up encounters where you see injustices happening and you cannot look away. You are like forced to go intervene and fix it.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just going to be like, oh, that guy's stealing from the food cart. Like, no, you just saw the king smack the crap out of his servant. What you gonna do about it?
Ooh, that's a big thing. More blessing and maybe a hidden curse that we come up with for the lawful good deity blessing, right? Is this concept of divine guidance. And it's actually something that I think clerics can do a little bit in D&D. But basically the idea is that the whole party at some point in the day can reference and actually talk to their deity and ask them questions about something specific. The deity could respond in maybe like cryptic ways, but still helpful or provide advice. I mean, that could be a big help. But what if, because they have this ability, their deity is always there and possibly scrutinizing the things that they shouldn't be doing? Yeah, so maybe they are trying to just quickly steal something, like the rogue in the party just wants to steal something behind the counter, no big deal, could definitely do it. But the deity's watching, and maybe they automatically, the DM just calls, well, go ahead and make the check with disadvantage. And the party's like, what do you mean? Why disadvantage? It's like, oh, because your deity is always watching.
That's right.
This could take the form of a lot of different things that could be a detriment to the party in one way or another. But I mean, being able to call on a deity for help would be really helpful too. So,
I think it'd be a lot of fun. You got to balance some of these benefits out with a couple of negative effects, and to make it funny would be really fun for the whole table. So we've looked at the bad, we've looked at the good, but believe it or not, in D&D, there is something right in the center. We're going to be looking at some neutral type of deities, and we're not specifically looking at neutral deities as in like, oh, this is Mephistus and he's the god of this. Like, we don't really care about that, but you are going to have several kinds of neutral gods that you'd be able to worship as a cleric or warlock. So because of that, you could probably think of a trickster type god as a neutral god. Somebody who's more or less indifferent to the good and bads going on for the party or even around the world. You could imagine that they just get enjoyment out of seeing things happen. I would probably imagine that a trickster god would probably be a little bit more chaotic neutral, but I could imagine the kind of blessings that they could imbue would be hilarious as well. Something kind of like an aura of deception, where you would have an advantage to different kinds of like deception checks or just lying out in general, but maybe when you fail you have uncontrollable laughter. Or let's just say it's your bad luck day and you also have to make this roll while you're stealthing around, and now it's not just deception checks, but your dexterity check makes you laugh uncontrollably, and you could be like right behind somebody's counter. You just failed and now you're laughing and your hand's already in their pocket.
Yeah, that'd be real awkward. So you said maybe it's your bad luck day. So what if all of these, because there's a few more we got listed here, what if all of these are that at the beginning of every day, you have your party flip a coin, and if it's heads, they get the good benefits for the day, but if it's tails, they only really get the curses for the day. That would be crazy, and maybe too much, but fun idea.
At the same time though, what if everybody had to flip a coin and like it's his bad luck day, her bad luck day, his bad luck day, like, you know, different. It could be hilarious. It was like, oh, why does this guy always have a good luck day? Yeah. And I'm just sitting here. Yeah, that could be funny too.
Yeah, I could see it. I'd love that. That's great. Speaking of the unpredictable luck, the next one we have is titled Unpredictable Luck. So what if the party, right? The whole party, as soon as they roll a natural 20 for the day, they have to re-roll it and take whatever they roll. Well, wait, that's not all. What if they roll the first natural 1 of the day? They also have to re-roll it and take whatever they roll. So the first extreme rolls are re-rolled.
And that could be really cool because a lot of things are at advantage or disadvantage. So when this comes up, it's a likelihood that you're gonna get a 1 or a 20 somewhere. It's not even just the 5% chance at the lowest denominator. It's both ends and twice. So there's a really high chance of you actually getting it. Yeah. I'm not a math whiz, but I know somebody out there is and can do that for me.
Yeah, someone's crunching the numbers right now. Just like, oh, that was this one, natural 20, is this over here? Yeah. But yeah, it'd be fun, especially if you did it with every person at the table, because there's going to be a lot of natural 1s and 20s rolled between the whole party at least. It would come up.
Totally.
Or this one's fun. What if we had a boon called the Master of Pranks, and basically anyone in the party can just use Mage Hand at will, if they can justify the means of using Mage Hand as a prank. And if the prank fails, then maybe the prankee, whoever is being pranked, becomes immediately furious and acts in accordance to whatever that person, you know, would do for that.
Oh, definitely. And if the prank fails, it's pretty obvious that like you were the one pulling it off.
Yeah.
And I could totally see like this Mage Hand being like sentient in a way from like the neutral god, where it's like you're doing it, but then you failed, and then it like raises up a little bit and then points to you, and it's
like yes, that'd be awesome.
Right.
This would be bad. So if you're like pranking a guard, right, you're like, well, I'm gonna take his spear because it's a +1 spear, I can tell. And you biff it, you know, this guy's going to become immediately furious, grab his spear, and just rush you, and now you're fighting the town guards. But you might succeed, in which case you didn't have to take the Mage Hand cantrip because you can just use it at will. It was a prank. Yeah, it's just a prank, bro.
No one's ever got hurt with that.
Yeah, never till now. And the last one we got for you is the concept of a befuddling strike, right? So let's say that when a party member connects with a weapon attack, they can choose to impose a random condition. It'd be fun if you did maybe like 4 conditions, so you could roll a d4, so it's random. And the conditions could be like poisoned, prone, or maybe 2 good ones even, like you heal the enemy a certain amount, or you recoil from the attack and take some damage.
Hey, buddy.
Hi, Cat. Welcome back.
So those are a couple of ideas of how you could empower the entire party. Maybe even have a character arc for a specific character who... How you doing, buddy?
Come here, bud. He's like, no, you're gonna pick me up again. Here, I'll keep you in the video this time, okay?
All right.
How's that?
So those are just a couple of ideas we've got for how you might be able to empower the entire party with your Warlock's patron, or maybe your Cleric or Paladin deity. A lot of these could be really ambiguous, but if you gave this to the entire party, or maybe even just your Paladin or Cleric or Warlock, you could really superpower them to be like super Cleric. So I think this would be a really fun way to introduce the God concept to the table without it being weird and something that's dispositioned from everything else. Because we know that the Cleric worships a god, but that's not going to come up ever. The Warlock worships a patron, but that hardly ever comes up unless you got a really good DM.
Yeah, and you pointed to me. And it really just makes sense that a Warlock's patron or a Paladin's deity or whatever else, like, it makes sense that the party that they're around constantly would, like, it, I don't know that I'd just say, like, rub off, but it makes sense that this deity would consider the people that they're always around also. Like, it's almost kind of weird that it isn't a thing more often.
It's like the Warlock's a priest almost, and then, like, the followers more or less are like their scribes or like disciples in a way.
Yeah.
So it's like they do get the benefits that everyone gets to eat at the table.
Yeah, exactly. This makes sense.
But if you got any ideas better than that, leave them in the comments, and we'll see you next time.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. Don't forget to like, comment, or subscribe.
Yes.
Say bye, buddy.
Let me down.